But today we'll be having some discussion on wind energy. Is that okay with you? Are you agreed?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So what I'll do, I will share you a presentation. Today I'll be going through the presentation and subsequently I'll share the presentation so that you can go through, because wind energy is not very common. So getting details of wind energy is a bit difficult. So you can go through the presentation subsequently. And we are also planning to have a class test in the next, I think within a fortnight. We'll decide the date where the coverage will be the syllabi we have covered till date, right? So let us go for the presentation.
Hello.
Yes. Any query?
No, sir, you can continue.
Can you see the presentation?
No, sir. Yes, sir. Now it's okay.
It's visible, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Can you see wind generation?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Wind generation, history of windmill.
Yeah. So wind energy, we are aware of wind energy from time immemorial. The wind energy has been used most commonly in which part? Who can say? Very common usage of wind energy other than these windmills?
Sir, in boat, I mean, sailing of boat.
Exactly, right you are. In sailing of boat, sailing of ship, earlier the mode of riverine transport or sea transport were through the ships or boats, where we know that the wind energy is used to push the ship or the boats. আমরা যেটাকে বাংলায় বলি পালতোলা নৌকো, তো সেইটা আমরা ব্যবহার করতাম in earlier days, right? And the flow of wind or the flow of unidirectional wind, but when wind gets in a turbulent mode, that cannot be utilized. That is not a good for any systematic flow. But when it is in a particular direction, it can be utilized quite effectively, and it has been utilized with its long history in windmills. So the wind is also a byproduct of solar energy. All you know that solar energy hits up the surface of the earth. So hot wind, which is lighter, it moves up, and the colder wind, which is at the vicinity of that area, starts movement. So this is a local movement, and there are global movement. Global movement is seasonal, depending on the uh, sun's position and heat of the surface. It may be water, it may be main ground surface, and it heats up the medium. Partially the wind also gets heated up, and the lighter wind moves up. So from at a remote distance, the colder wind tries to catch up that position, and these are the seasonal flow of wind, like the monsoon, like many sea breeze. These things are partly local and mostly regional, or it is seasonal. So the wind is a byproduct of solar energy. Approximately 2% of the sun's energy reaching the earth is converted into wind energy. The surface of the earth heats and cools unevenly, creating atmospheric pressure zones that make air flow from high to low pressure areas, which I was trying to explain. The wind has played an important role in the history of human civilization. We also discussed on that, right? Because whenever you find, because all everywhere there are some intelligent people who try to find the best way of usage of the available resources. In the same process, we have identified that the flow of river can generate hydropower. The flow of water can create some additional source of energy. So the flow of water and putting the water in different direction has created irrigation and canals. So this is basically the flow of water, which is a source of energy, potential energy. It can be utilized in various means, like the wind energy. So the first known use of wind dates back 5,000 years to Egypt, where boats used sails to travel from shore to shore. The first true windmill, a machine with vanes attached to an axis to produce circular motion, may have been built as early as 2000 BC. So the age of windmill is not, you know, a recent one. From the very old period, like that of 2000 BC, windmills was invented by some people. In ancient Babylon, by the 10th century AD, windmills with wind catching surfaces having 16 feet length and 30 feet height were grinding grain in the areas in eastern Iran and Afghanistan. All you know that the windmills were used, particularly the earlier period in this Babylon. They were used, old windmills to grind food grains, and these windmills in Holland used extensively, even at a later date. The earliest written surfaces to working wind machines in Western world dated from 12th century. These two were used for milling grain. It was not until a few hundred years later that windmills were modified to pump water and reclaim much of Holland from the sea. So when people found that okay, the wind flow is a regular one, which is obviously not easily available everywhere, because this wind direction and wind speed is very unpredictable. You cannot predict that the wind flow of wind can be controlled with your own whims. So it is a natural phenomenon, so it could be utilized. So the wind could be utilized for, but if the wind speed is a regular one, which is reasonably good in Holland, so they could utilize the speed of wind to form a different form of mechanical energy and used to do many work other than grinding grains. They used to pull water or carry water from the rivers and utilize it for their own usage, because the Holland is very close to seashore and mostly covered with the sea areas. So for getting sweet water, they used to lift water with the help of windmills. In 1930s and 1940s, hundreds of thousands of electricity producing wind turbines were built in the US. It is quite interesting that wind turbine were first popularized in the US. In fact, I also visited US and I saw a number of windmills. A number of windmills are present in the hilly terrains where the wind flow is uniform and a good amount of power is generated from the windmills. They had two or three thin blades which rotate at high speeds to drive electrical generators. These wind turbines provide electricity to farms the reach of power beyond the reach of power lines and were typically used to charge storage batteries, operate radio receivers, and power a light bulb. In fact, today, with the advent of technology, we are aware of solar power, and with solar power, we are talking of microgrids, which can be supplied by solar energy. Way back in 1930, 1940, the in America, various hamlets were charged with wind turbines, where access of electricity, main electrical lines were difficult. Wind farms used to charge storage batteries. Now, at that time, radio signal was received. The technology of radio has come that required electricity, so that was it could get from these windmills, I mean wind turbines. And when the wind speed was not enough, generation was not sufficient, the energy could have gone from storage batteries. By the early 1950s, however, the extension of the central power grid to nearly every American household via the Rural Electrification Administration eliminated the market for these machines. Wind turbine developed lay nearly dormant for the next 20 years. So that was, one time wind energy or wind turbines became dominant. They could, be used more regularly. But after 1950s, when the America formed its national grid, accessibility of electricity came to everyone. So the requirement of wind turbine became less because that time of those small mini grids or microgrids were not required. All became a part of the integral grid. Then the wind turbine became less important because, mind you, that time solar energy was not available. But when we know that thermal energy and subsequently released carbon dioxide due to burning of coal is creating a social menace, releasing greenhouse gases, and the global temperature is rising. Everyone is trying to prohibit thermal generation, and new stress on renewable generation or green power is becoming more and more important. And so the wind turbine again has come back. It has recovered its lost glory, and wind turbine is being used in India and abroad. Today, around 37, 38 megawatt of wind generation is available in India, and India is searching for its wind potential. which is closely 100 gigawatt wind potential India do have, and one group of people are telling that India can have more than 300 gigawatt wind power if the height of the wind turbines are increased. We'll discuss on that. Wind generation. Now, a typical modern windmill looks as shown in the following figure. Can you see the figure? Hello,
Yes, sir.
are you with
Yes,
me?
yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
A typical modern windmill looks as shown in the following figure. That it is a big mast, or it's a pillar on which horizontally there are three blades which which moves around when wind flows. The windmill contains three blades about a horizontal axis installed on a tower. The turbine connected to a generator is fixed about the horizontal axis. Like the weather in general, the wind can be unpredictable. I also always mention this. Weather in general, the wind can be unpredictable, and it is so. It varies from place to place, from moment to moment. Because it is invisible, it is not easily measured without special instrument. True. Then how can you measure wind speed? Wind velocity is affected by the trees, buildings, hills, and valley around us. If there are trees, big trees, it impedes wind flow. If there are buildings, they also restrict wind flow. But what happens that if there are two buildings, if you stand in between, you experience a much faster wind speed because of this tunneling effect. So it affects the speed of the wind, hills and valleys around us. Wind is a diffuse energy source that cannot be contained or stored for use elsewhere or at another time. So basically, flowing wind is a diffuse energy source. The energy cannot be contained or stored for use elsewhere or at another time. Even electricity can be stored in battery, but the wind, you cannot store it. When the wind is in motion, the velocity of the wind, you cannot store it. It is a momentary energy in, I mean, imparted to the particles of air. And when it is moving, it is like the flowing water. The flowing water, energy in the flowing water, you cannot store it. It can be devastating, it can be constructive. You can run your turbines to this flowing water, or the flowing water, it may be so much of power, it can break the break a barrage and inundate miles of areas, can be very deadly and destructive. But that energy, if we need to harness, you have to harness in its flow time. Same with wind energy. Now we are going to classify the windmills, because wind turbine is connected to this windmill. Now what, there are two types of windmill. One is horizontal axis and vertical axis. The horizontal axis windmills are very common, where the axis of the mill is horizontal to the ground. And reversibly, the vertical mills means the axis of the mill or the wind axis of the mill is vertical to the ground. So what will happen then? If you consider the mast of the windmill or the support structure of the windmill on which the mill, basically the rotating blades, rotates horizontal to the ground. These type of vertical mills are not very common. They have some plus points, some minus points, which we will discuss. A vertical axis machine has its blades rotating on an axis perpendicular to the ground. That means the axis is vertical to the ground, perpendicular to the ground. There are a number of available designs for both, and each type has certain advantages and disadvantages. However, compared with the horizontal axis type, very few vertical axis machines are available commercially. So mostly are horizontal machines. Now, horizontal axis machines, this is the most common wind turbine design. In addition to being parallel to the ground, the axis of the blade rotation is parallel to the wind flow. In addition or to being parallel to the ground, the axis of the blade rotation is parallel to the wind flow. Some machines are designed to operate in an upwind mode with the blades upwind of the tower. In this case, a tail vane is usually used to keep the blades facing into the wind. Other designs operate a downwind mode so that the wind passes the tower before striking the blade. Some very large wind turbines use a motor-driven mechanism that turns the machine in response to a wind direction sensor mounted on the tower. Just keep it in mind that, like solar, facing the wind is very important. If the turbine faces the wind directly, then the degree of rotation or the speed of rotation will be more. So what happens? Some machines are designed to operate in an upwind mode with the blades upwind of the tower. So there are a few machines which can operate in an upwind mode. That means when the air force is coming, it tries to lift up these windings. In this case, a tail vane is usually used to keep the blades facing onto the wind. Now what will happen? There will be a tail vane, and to avoid vibration or moving away of the wind turbines from the direction, it tries to oppose the motion, so that every time it tries to face the air direction, face against the movement of air. And some other designs operate a downwind mode so that the wind passes the tower before striking on these are uncommon. Basically, they try to put the wind turbines, that means the fan blades, in the downward motion, so that the reverse air thrust will try to reposition it. It is not very common. Some very large wind turbines use a motor-driven mechanism that turns the machine in response to a wind direction sensor mounted on the tower. So one motor-driven mechanism is fixed. It sends with sensor. The sensor identifies the wind direction and places the motor, places the turbine. If it gets shifted from its original position to the actual position where the wind thrust is maximum. So there is a feedback system which operates. Commonly found horizontal axis windmills are aero turbine mill with 35% efficiency
Sir,
and farm.
you can hide the btgoogle.com. There is, there is a hide option, sir. No, sir, there is a hide option.
There is no hide option, I find.
Sir, please
There is
keep
a
it in.
close
No, sir, no, sir, no, sir. Sir, drag the bar in your left. I mean, there is a hide option. There is a hide option, sir.
Oh, yes, yes. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No
I
problem.
didn't know it. Thanks, Sugar. Commonly found horizontal axis windmills are aero turbine mills with 35% efficiency and farm mills with 15% efficiency. So basically, farm mills means which are used in wind farms. So their job is basically to give a rotational movement. But here we need to transfer energy. So what happens, these horizontal mills, windmills, which are used in this particularly wind turbine, they are of aero turbine design, which has around 35% efficiency. And there are flat type mills which just rotate and transfers energy reasonably good. They are with 15% efficiency. Obviously, cost wise, the aero turbine designs are much costlier. Classification of windmills 3. Vertical axis machines. Although vertical axis wind turbines have existed for centuries, they are not as common as their horizontal counterparts. You have already read the main reason for this. Now I will tell one interesting point. The main reason for this is that they do not take advantage of the higher wind speeds at higher elevations above the ground as well as horizontal axis turbines. Can anybody explain that?
Can you please repeat the question?
Please try. Question second.
Yes, sir.
Explanation of just second item.
Sir, the center of mass will shift it to upward. I mean, then the mechanical balance will not be that good, I guess.
Anybody has any doubt?
Am I audible, sir?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thing is that when we use a horizontal horizontal windmill, that means The shaft of the mill is parallel to the ground. The length of the shaft is pretty small, and the wind turbine is basically elevated with a steel structure or with something, you can call it a mast, above ground level. At what level? Say 60, 70 meters above. Why? At that level, the wind speed is much more than that of ground level, because wind doesn't get any, you know, impediment. There are free movement of wind, and the speed is much higher there. And wind turbine operates well at least when the speed is 40 kilometers per hour. So in in order to get a free flowing wind, you need to elevate it. But if you put, vertical axis machines, you need to bring the shaft from 80 meter to the ground level, because you need to, get electricity out of it. You need to grout the entire thing. You need to have mechanical stability. And what my young friend has answered, that there will be a question of mechanical stability, number one. Number two, when the speed will be more, there will be, possibility of bending of the vertical shaft, which is transmitting the energy from the top to, say, at a level of 70 to 80 meters. So that's why when you are using vertical axis machines, the height of the windmills must remain smaller. So here the efficiency automatically falls. Am I clear to you?
Yes, sir.
The basic vertical axis designs are Darius, which has carved blades and efficiency of 35%. The Gyro Mill, which has straight blades, has efficiency of 35%. And Savonius, which uses scoop to catch the wind and the efficiency of 30%. A vertical axis machine need not be oriented with the respect of wind direction. This is a plus point of windmills, vertical windmills. But these are very uncommonly used. Because the shaft is vertical, the transmission and generator can because the shaft is vertical, the transmission and generator can be mounted at ground level, allowing easier servicing and a lighter weight, lower cost tower. Although vertical axis and wind turbines have these advantages, their designs are not as efficient as collecting energy from the wind as are the horizontal machine designs. There is one more type of windmill called cyclogyro windmill with a very high efficiency of 65-60%. However, it is not very stable and is very sensitive to wind direction. It is also very complex to build. So basically, we understand there are two types of windmills. One is horizontal and the other is vertical. Everyone has some specific advantage and disadvantages, but more advantage is on the horizontal. So this is more commonly used. The following figures, there are two figures you see, the above mentioned wheels. Vertical axis rotors, you see the rotor and the blades are basically only the wind is impinging on the blade and it's rotating the shaft. The shaft straight go downwards and connected to the turbine. So, and the length of the shaft is maximum 10-15 meters. But if you increase the shaft length, the stability will be lost, and the shaft will, after some days operation, the shaft will not remain, in the uniformly distributed. So there will be some, misappropriation. There will be some misalignment of the shaft direction, and the performance will fall. But in horizontal type design, what happens? The shaft is length is pretty small. It is mounted on a tower, and electric cables come down. So there is no point of this stability and or other issues do come. You are extracting electricity directly at a height of say 80 meters. So that is the flexibility. Main components of a windmill. Just check. The following figure shows typical components of a horizontal axis windmill. The hub, you can understand. This is the blades, you can see. There is the main shaft, the blue line, you can see. This is the gearbox mechanism. Why gearbox mechanism we will gradually discuss. There are brakes, there are generators, and from these generators, there are electrical towers and cables. They are coming through these pipelines. That's all. Rotor. The portion of the wind turbine that collects energy from the wind is called the rotor. The portion of the wind turbine that collects energy from the wind is called the rotor. It is not the rotor of a generator rotor. It is basically the shaft rotates and the wind turbine collects energy from the wind is called the rotor. The rotor usually consists of two or more wooden, fiberglass or metal blades which rotate about an axis at a rate determined by the wind speed and the shape of the blade. So what is connected at the end of a rotor? Fan blades. The blades may be made of wooden, may be made of fiberglass or metal blades, and the blades should be light, but it should be stable too and not be brittle and not change its shape. Because if wind becomes speedy and the rotational moment of inertia, so there is a tendency of bending of this. So that should be not that way fragile or that way flexible that it can change its shape. So that should be the characteristics which rotate about an axis. It might be horizontal or vertical at a rate determined by the wind speed. Obviously, the wind speed determines the rotation of the blades. If the wind speed is more, there will be more rotation. If the wind speed is less, there will be less speed. The blades are attached to the hub, which in turn is attached to the main shaft. Drag design. Blade designs operate on either the principle or drag or lift. There are on two principles it operates. One is on drag principle and the other is on lift principle. Like this horizontal and vertical, as vertical is not a common system, the drag is also not a common system. Common system is lift. For the drag design, the wind literally pushes the blades out of this way. What happens when wind speed is impinged on the blade? It generates a thrust, and the thrust allows the blade to move away. And in the lift, what happens? Drag powered wind turbines are characterized by slower rotational speed and high torque capabilities, because they are getting that each blade is facing the entire wind thrust. The moment of inertia, that means the input energy is more, so it can have more mechanical power. And what is the lift? Lift means the design of the blade is so that some portion of the blade is thick and some portion it is basically tapered off. So what happens when the wind energy gets impinged on the blade? There are two pressure zones developed across the blade. At the thick portion, at the thin portion, the thick portion, it becomes a high pressure zone, and the thin portion becomes a low pressure zone. So what will happen? Consider the blade is at horizontal position, and the long blade, say of 3 meter length, on the entire 3 meter thick area, the wind is impinged, and the lower portion, which is a thin area, their pressure is low because the air has crossed more distance. So the comparative pressure on the thicker area is more, and the comparative pressure on the thinner area is less. So what happens? So there is a tendency of lifting up, that is from low pressure to high pressure, there will be a direction. So there will be, from high pressure to low pressure, there will be a direction. So it creates a rotational torque on the blade. I was talking earlier. Now let's study one lift design once more, and then it will be clearer to you. The lift blade design employs the same principle that enables aeroplanes, kites, and birds to fly. The blade is essentially an airfoil or wing. When air flows past the blade, a wind speed and pressure differential is created between the upper and lower blade surface. Why that is? Because the upper is thicker and lower part of the blade is thinner. The pressure at the lower surface is greater and thus acts lift the blade. The pressure at the lower surface is greater and thus acts lift the blade. When the blades are attached to a central axis, like a wind turbine rotor, the lift is translated into rotational motion. So all these three blades, each blade, it's put in such a direction that the direction will be from lower to air pressure, from this higher to lower, and always there is a lifting tendency. That means a pushing tendency. So when it tries to push in all the blades, say in clockwise direction, the turbine shaft is experiencing a rotational motion, and the connected generator rotor is basically trying to move in a clockwise direction. Now what it transpires, that like in thermal generator, the turbine is rotating and the shaft is connected to the generator itself. Basically, the generator's stator is fixed and rotor coil is connected to the generator, to the shaft. As the shaft rotates due to differential air pressure, the connected rotor also rotates. Now, when it is rotating in a magnetic field, what happens? Ultimately, an E, that means a voltage, is induced on the stator windings. So what you are doing? You are converting wind energy to mechanical rotational energy. Wind energy is also mechanical energy, but here we will talk about only wind energy. Now this wind energy is converting the shaft into a rotational, it's creating a rotational torque on the shaft and is giving rotation to it. And the rotating shaft is connected to the generator rotor. So the generator rotor also rotates, and it's creating an electric field. So the electric field gets induced, and electrical voltage is formed. The pressure at the lower surface is greater and thus acts as lift the blade. When blades are attached to a central axis like a wind turbine rotor, the lift is translated into rotational motion. Lift-powered wind turbines have much higher rotational speeds than drag type and therefore well suited for electricity generation. This is a picture. Following this figure give an idea about the drag and lift principle. Now let us understand the lift principle. Now this wind is moving. So this is creating from this high pressure, the wind is moving here. It is a thicker area, so pressure is higher. Now it is becoming to a thinner area, so the wind gets expanded. So there will be a tendency of lift. Now this is connected to a ultimately the end of this is connected to a shaft. So when it starts rotating, the shaft also rotates. So this is a very simple explanation of the rotational movement. Now tip speed ratio. What is that? The tip speed is the ratio of the rotational speed of the blade to the wind speed. It's a ratio. That means when the tip speed will be high, when say for 20 speed, 20 kilometer per hour wind speed, the rotational speed of the blade say 30. Now another case, the same tip speed, the rotational speed say 40. So the tip speed ratio is more in the second case. What really it indicates? It indicates that the second wind turbine will have more efficiency than the first turbine, and its capacity of generating power will be more. Very simple. Electricity generation requires high rotational speeds. As I told, that tip speed ratio, if it is higher, it has the capacity of generating more electricity. Lift type wind turbines have maximum tip speed ratios of around 10, while drag type ratios are approximately 1. Given the high rotational speed requirements of electrical generators, it is clear that lift type wind turbine is the most practical for this application. The number of blades that make up a rotor and the total area they cover affect wind turbine performance. The number of blades that make up a rotor and the total area they cover, that means the entire wind passage area. Collection of more wind means collection of more energy. So the length of the blade, that means the entire area it covers. And if you consider the air speed, that means the volume of area, the volume of air a wind turbine covers for a specific time identifies its capability and performance. For a lift type rotor to function effectively, the wind must flow smoothly over the blades. To avoid turbulence, spacing between blades should be great enough so that one blade will not encounter the disturbed weaker airflow caused by the blade which passes before it. Keep this thing in your mind. This is very important. It's a concept. To avoid turbulence, what happens that when this is moving through, the two things are moving. Just keep it in your mind. Two things are moving. One moving is the moving blade. Other moving item is the moving air. Direction of air moving is basically facing the blades. Now, consider a slice of this wind movement. Just keep yourself that the moving air is in a slice in the part of rotating blades of this wind turbine. Now what happens? Think the dynamic situation. The wind slice is basically getting disturbed when when the blade is basically thumping the wind. So there will be turbulence. Now if two blades are very close, the turbulence will impair the other blade, so the lifting phenomenon will be impaired. So the efficiency of the wind turbine will fall. So very simply, the wind turbine is usually kept with either 2 or 3 blades. So if we keep these 3 blades 120 degree apart, so there is a mechanical stability of this. For 180 degree apart, there will be mechanical stability, but for low speeds there will be some hunting type of operations. So in this particular case of forming wind turbine generator, 3 blades with 120 degree configuration is the best. It is because of this requirement that most wind turbines have only 2 or 3 blades on their rotors. In fact, 3 blades are most stable. Main components of a windmill: generator. The generator is what converts the turning motion of a wind turbine blades into electricity. Inside this component, coils of wire are rotated in a magnetic field to produce electricity. Different generator designs produce either alternating current AC or direct current DC, and they are available in large range of output power ratings. So we can get either AC or direct DC on the based on the nature of generator we provide. We can produce a DC generator there. We can produce AC generator there. But these two have different characteristics of generator. I am asking you one question, my friends. Are you there with me? How many of you are having electrical background?
So I guess 7 to 8 so hobby. 7 to 8 students are from electrical background.
Sugato, are you also from electrical or having?
Yes, sir. No, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So those who are from electrical, they are aware that there are various types of generators. There are DC generators, there are synchronous generators, there are induction generators, right?
Yes, sir.
But those who do not belong to electrical engineering, they may not have such a distinct idea about generators. So considering all of you, I am not emphasizing more on generator, but only that these are not really of synchronous generator, because as the speeds are variable. Can you get me? For synchronous generator, you need to have a synchronous speed, say for depending on the cycle of operation, and here the cycles are very variable because it is dependent on the wind speed. So here the nature of generator is basically induction generator or DC generator. The induction generator, it can be overexcited. So excitation you can control. So this overexcited induction motor can act at a higher speed, can act as a generator. So we accept that principle. Okay. So we get the voltage, and ultimately what we do really, we have to synchronize it with the grid. So what we do, we convert it through an inverter. Now inverter for DC system also, for solar system also, we convert this. Do you have any idea on this? My young friends, do you have any idea of synchronization? Sugato,
Yes, sir.
do you know what is synchronization?
I guess yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Can you explain this to others? You take my role.
Yes, sir. But I think I am not total in. I will not be able to give the right explanation. I know the term. I know.
Okay. So let me tell few words on synchronization. Then it will be more interesting to you, right?
Yes, sir.
Let me ask other boys because I can't see their names even. I not the faces. So are you interested to hear what is synchronization?
Yes, sir.
Those
Yes,
who
sir.
do not belong to electrical, they also need to know.
Yes, sir.
But I will not make make it more technical. I will try to explain as simple as possible. Okay.
Okay, sir. Its overview will be the fine.
Pardon? Please repeat.
Sir, if you teach overview of the synchronization, it would be the fine, sir.
Okay, right. I am also giving you the overview, not going into the detailed technicalities, but just you will understand how the power system is acting, and it is quite interesting for everyone, not only for electrical boys, but for everybody. Huh?
Okay, sir.
So you can see, my friends, whenever we are, wherever we are getting electricity, right? So electricity is coming from various sources. Earlier it was only on thermal generation, but right now we are getting electricity from solar, we are getting electricity from wind, and all are basically clubbed together. But we ever thought of how the solar energy, how the wind energy, how the energy from hydropower, how the energy from thermal power get connected to a common platform and give me supply where I am really not aware that from where, which source my electricity has come. Have you ever thought on it? I am explaining. You see, it is like a big tub where you pour buckets of water. Some buckets are coming from Ram's house, some buckets are coming from Sham's house, some buckets are coming from Rahim's house, some buckets are coming from say Joseph's house, and you are putting all the buckets in a tub, and somebody is and these are all clean water, and somebody is drinking some glasses of water, taking up some glasses of water from that bucket or from that tub. Now everybody is quenching their thirst. Electricity system is also like that, but not so simple. But like this, you know, reservoir, or like this, you know, uh, tub, or this water container, the grid or the electrical bus system is connected to various generators. It can be thermal generator, a large number of thermal generators located at different locations. There can be a large number of wind generators located at different locations. There can be a large number of solar generators or solar units located at different locations. But everyone is connected to a common system that we call electrical bus or electrical grid. So far, you have understood it. Now, can a thermal generator, even which is located at Kolkata, and a thermal generator which is located at, say, Bardwan, or a thermal generator which is located at Bihar, a thermal generator which is located at Uttar Pradesh, can they be connected simply? Yes, they can be connected simply, but they require three parameters. The three parameters must match. If the three parameters match, then there will be no harm in connecting it, what we term in electrical technology as synchronization. What is that? The frequency In our case, the frequency is 50 cycles, but it may be slight more or slight less that of 50 cycles. So this generator, which is at Uttar Pradesh, suppose it is at Rihand, that generator should be having the same frequency, say it is 50.01. The grid on which other machines are connected should have the same frequency. That means 50.01 should be the frequency at both ends. So number one criterion of frequency matching is there. Now what is the number two criterion? That is the voltage. The voltage at the generating point of Rihand should be equal to the same voltage at the point of synchronization. In electrical, mind you, we can change the voltage at our switch wheel. We can use step-up transformer. We can use step-down transformer. In step-up transformer, we increase the voltage. In step-down transformer, we reduce the voltage. In tap-changing transformers or the transformer with a tap-change facility, we can also control the voltage. But when we synchronize this, we should have the same voltage at the bus point. Number three, there is another term in electrical called phase sequence. That means in electricity, we know it's a three-phase system, that RYB phases and RYB phases of this bus and the machine at Rihand should be of same sequence. Phase sequence means the speed of the machine and the speed of the machines and the component speed or consolidated speed of all machines in the grid should be the same. So if I want to synchronize the machine at Rihand, the phase sequence of Rihand should be equal to the phase sequence of that of the grid. Now, if these three are equal, which can be tested by a machine named synchroscope, then I can switch on the Rihand machine with the bus. So that is called synchronization. That just keep it in mind. There are three components. One is frequency, second one is voltage, and third one is phase sequence. If these three things of two machines matches, they can be connected together. Now for a wind generator, for a solar generator, what happens? They neither have three-phase system, nor have a phase, nor have any, other equipment like, frequency or something like that. In DC, basically a solar generator gets generated in DC system. All you know that solar energy, we get the solar energy through PV modules is at positive plus 2 voltage and 0. Now we put arrays of these solar cells. Now arrays connected together, they generate a voltage which is also DC in nature. So how can a DC be connected to an AC system? What we do, we convert this DC to AC through a electrical equipment, basically an electronic equipment. This is called inverter. Now this inverter inverts this DC to AC. And when I use this inverter, basically I use power electronics, that means thyristor, which controls the output voltage parameter. Now there are three inverters individual which are connected together, which makes a three-phase system. And this three-phase system behaves like a generator. And this solar system with these inverters gets the synchronization, because the inverters controls the frequency parameters matching with the input system. Similarly, the same system is implemented in wind turbines. The wind turbine also generate a voltage and frequency which is not matching with the grid. So there is also a set of inverters installed at the energy output part of these machines. Now they convert these to a three-phase system, which is basically compatible to the grid. And when it is found compatible, it is the switch is closed and the grid and wind system gets synchronized. I very simply tried to explain this, but it may not be very clear to all of you, particularly those who do not belong to electrical discipline. One day I will talk on this once again. That time it will be clearer to you, those who do not belong to electrical. But I am not going into the technical details. I think part of it, or some people might be understood fully. You just answer me, have you understood it at all? Who is the person who answered me? I don't know your name. Kaushik, are you from electrical? I want to hear it from any non-electrical boy. What about what is the reaction of non-electricals?
Sir, fairly clear, sir.
Pardon?
Fairly clear, sir. Fairly clear.
Fairly clear. Okay, I know it will not be perfectly clear, but I will take one more session on this. Then it will be clearer, because this is a very basic thing you need to know. Because as we are talking on energy conversion, and ultimately we are converting into electrical energy side, so how it is basically benefiting the grid and how it is connecting to the grid, that we will understand, but it will require one more lecture, I think. So uh, next is main component of a windmill. I'll just tell it briefly, and I will wind up. I will take a next day after discussing with you, and uh, you know wind up wind chapter. Main components of a windmill: 6. Most home and office appliances operate on 240 volt 50 cycles AC. Some appliances can operate either on AC or DC, such as light bulbs and resistance heaters, and many other can be adapted to run on DC. Storage systems using batteries store DC and usually are configured at voltages between 12 volt and 120 volt. Generators that produce AC are generally equipped with features to produce the correct voltage of 240 volt and constant frequency 50 cycles of electricity, even when the wind speed is fluctuating. DC generators are normally used in battery charging applications and for operating DC appliances and machinery. They also can be used to produce AC electricity with the use of an inverter, which converts DC to AC. Now I will conclude with this page, that is transmission. The number of revolutions per minute (RPM) of a wind turbine rotor can range between 40 RPM and 400 RPM, depending on the model and wind speed. Generators particularly require RPMs of 1200 to 1800. As a result, most wind turbines require a gearbox transmission to increase the rotation of the generator to the speeds necessary for efficient electricity production. That is a very important part of this wind turbine, because when the wind speed is even say 20, 30, whatever be that wind speed, they are basically running the wind blades, and their RPM is 40 RPM to 400 RPM, depending on the model and the wind speed. So, but the range is reasonably slow. But what do we see? You see that in a generator, our two-pole generator, they produce 50 cycles, and their RPM is basically 3000 RPM. So for generator, even for a four-pole generator, so what will be the RPM? That means 1500, just half of 3000 for a four-pole generator. So if we want to put it to a synchronous generator, the RPM should be to the tune of 1200 to 800, dependent on the number of poles, either 4-pole or 6-pole. That is like that. Now, as a result, how to achieve this high speed? It can be done through usage of a gearbox. The gearbox transmission to increase the rotation of the generator to the speeds necessary for efficient electricity distribution. Some DC type wind turbines do not use transmissions. Now for DC wind, because it can operate the DC system, you can train it up depending on the voltage. So the DC system may not require this transmission, this voltage. I'm sorry, the gearbox mechanism to increase the RPM. Instead, they have a direct link between rotor and generator. They are known as direct drive system. Without a transmission, wind turbine complexity and maintenance requires are reduced, because this transmission, which is basically a gearbox. Now, if the wind speed is very high, what will happen? There will be a slippage system. Because of this very high speed, when the input RPM is above, say, 400, obviously, because it is directly proportional, now wind thrust is more, so the RPM will be more, and as a result, the totality, if it is connected to the gearbox, the end result RPM, which will be even more than 1800. So there will be a quite difficult situation of generation of power. So there is a slip mechanism for very high speed. The generator, the turbine gearbox will not be sensitive to the speed changes. So without a transmission, turbine complexity and maintenance requirements are reduced. So if there is no such transmission system, the process will be simpler. But a much larger generator is required to deliver the same power output as the AC type wind turbines. So here I end today. The next class, you decide when we can take the next class. So when can we take the next class? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then I will talk to Shugato for fixing up the next class date. Okay. And is there any plan of you to join in university as far as the newspaper report is? I observe, I think that from the November 15th, the university will open.
So November 16th, sir. But sir, corona cases are increasing very rapidly now, fluctuating also. Some days decreasing, some days also increasing.
Okay, so in the next coming week, we'll fix up some date. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.